Hello, lovely people. I was, let me just shake the camera around some more. I was watching old videos of mine from some time ago and realized I haven't recorded anything recently. And our podcast is kind of on a little bit of a hiatus right now, just from general life busyness. Irvin and I are both pretty preoccupied people. We have a lot of things going on, each of us. And, it's nice to take like kind of an intentional break. But I like to kind of fill in the gaps with my randomness. I mean, I am accidentally in charge. That was the original title of the series, was Jackie's accidentally in charge. Um, so, sometimes I'm just still in charge for no reason. But basically, I was looking back through some of the old videos that I had recorded on YouTube, and some of them are from maybe like 12 years ago. Um, and it's so interesting to look back on some of the topics I was talking about then. Things like failure comes up a lot. Like my favorite bit, the one I just watched, was it ends with, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a failure and I have no pants. Which this time I have pants, guys. Look, there's pants. Ooh, pants. They're minion pants. They're very cute. They're my favorite pants. But so this time I have pants. I don't know if that's an improvement or not. But basically, and then on top of that, like I went and got the red lipstick out, and I watched the video that I recorded for the 100 Unicycles project, and I noticed that I was wearing red lipstick in that video as well. And when I would go to Misfit Con, I would often, here's my red is kind of back in my hair. I've got the two-tone thing going on right now. One of my great delights with these videos, as I look back through my catalog, is that my hair is completely different in every video. Like you go to one and it's blonde, you go to another one it's purple. Like it's different, and it's funny because even with this year's series, I noticed that like it was short and it was a different color, and now anyway, it's been fun to me to look back at some of the different expressions of me that have come up in this. But what I used to do for Misfit Con is I would have this color red, but it would be like my whole hair, because it's my favorite color. I've experimented with dyeing my hair over the years. Red kind of is my essential color that I really love. And what I would do is I would match my lipstick to my hair color. And there was a particular like cheap Wet and Wild like dollar lipstick. It's not this one. This is a different one. This is another favorite. But it was this dollar lipstick, and it was like every time I would dye my hair this color, I would go get that lipstick and put that on. And I don't know when I sort of left off the tradition of wearing the red lipstick or just lipstick in general. But for some reason, like over the last 10 years, I've gone through a lot of evolution, a lot of change. Um, it's helpful to look back on the videos from 12 years ago and kind of notice just like even my demeanor is different. Like in these, I'm very, I'm 46 now. I think I was probably like in my 30s when I was doing those others. And there was so much uncertainty in my life when I was watching the most recent video, and I was thinking about what was happening in my world at the time. Or when I recorded the 100 Unicycles project, I was listening to that video and thinking like, oh my gosh, and when I recorded that video, I was only 2 or 3 months away from a suicide attempt. When I was talking about being depressed or not being able to get out of bed, not being able to take a shower, like those were things that had just happened. And for me now, like those things are, 10 years in the past, and there's a little distance from it. And it's not that I've like completely healed. I don't think you ever really finish healing from something of that scale, but I have changed a lot in, 12 years or however long it's been since began recording these crazy shorts. Um, and I was thinking about just okay, well, back to the red lipstick. So like somehow this version of me is very colorful, very like out there. um when it recedes, that's a sign that I'm kind of like masking my true personality. And I didn't have that language 12 years ago when I was recording those videos. It's interesting to look back and see that I'm referring to ADD a lot in those early videos. And I'm talking about, that was around the time period when I learned that I had attention deficit disorder, got medication for the first time, started like realizing that I had done a lot of really hard things without the aid of medication. And being, it was nice to see me like starting to have a little bit of pride in what I had accomplished to date. And it's so fascinating because I was listening to that video, the one that I was just watching, and it was talking about failure. And one of the things that I had failed at the point that I was, recording that video, I felt I had failed in my career. At the moment I recorded that particular one, I was unemployed. And so, originally I was a college professor. I was teaching writing at San Jose State. And I left that profession of my own free will. The children were young. I decided this career wasn't for me. I left it behind. I wasn't happy in it, and I moved on to other things, and I was doing marketing, I was doing website design, I was doing art, I did all kinds of different things. And eventually I ended up at a plant nursery. So for the last 3 years, I've been working in an admin role at a plant nursery. Not at all what I expected to be doing with an English degree. I always tease my current employer, like, I do budgeting, I do spreadsheets, and I do a lot of math. And I'm like, why, if you wanted your math to be correct, why did you hire an English major to do your budget? But somehow it turns out I'm really good at that stuff. So it's not what I expected to be doing when I thought I had failed, short story long. And then on top of that, just this week, really exciting news, just starting to tell people, because it's not like signed and sealed and delivered yet. But as we've been dropping hints on our podcast, and as I've been like posting on Substack and things, I've been trying to return to teaching, which is, what my degree is in. I spent 8 years in school trying to like learn how to be a writing instructor, and I studied literature, and I miss academia. And I really thought I had left it all behind me. I was not going to go back. And there's a whole long story. I'll probably return to this topic several times just to cover that story. But short story long, I've been hired again at San Jose State, where I used to teach. I'm really, really excited. I'm going to be teaching an online course in the spring. It's business writing. The whole world of writing has completely changed since I was a college instructor. So, I was teaching when I was in my 20s. Like I said, I'm now 46. Like, if I think I'm never quite sure exactly the year I'm in, but I've grown up a lot. Basically, my kids now, like my oldest son is in college. So like the kids that are in the classes, when I was teaching the first time, I was barely older. And there's always a chance that like one of my former students eventually will watch one of these or come back and contact me or something. And I always feel like I should maybe apologize, because I was such a baby and I completely had imposter syndrome, had no idea what I was doing when I was teaching college the first time. I was still in school myself, but I really struggled with it. And it's not that I was terrible. I don't think I'm pretty much always at least competent at what I try to do, or at least I try to be. So I don't think I was like utterly horrible, but I definitely think I can do better. And this time I'm hoping to like build on what I've learned in the interim, like leaving academia and working in the business world and doing, things like budgeting and math. So basically, oh my gosh, I'm all over the place tonight. But basically, when I was recording that last video and I was talking about failure and how I was unemployed and didn't know what I was doing, and here I am 12 years later, and it turns out that I am employed, and I'm employed in the job that I thought I had failed at. Turns out that maybe I didn't fail, and that was just part of the path of learning and growing. And now I get to come back a much more confident person, much more colorful person, put the red lipstick back on, put the red back in my hair, and get back into the classroom and bring all of these things that I've learned over time, which is a really exciting thing. So like, I just feel like it's coming full circle, and it's fun to be in this moment where I haven't quite started the new path yet. I'm going to continue to work in the job that I love at the plant nursery. I'm not leaving, like in case anyone from work is watching this. No, I'm still good, guys. You got me. I love what I do. I love where I work. I love the people I work with. But this is a way to like reconnect with the thing that I thought I had sort of left behind me, thought I had failed at. And instead, I'm gonna like resume doing both. Actually, I get to like work with plants and with lovely people and do my day job, and then I get to teach my online course and teach writing and catch up with all of this crazy AI stuff that's happening, and all of the ways people are using technology, which has always been, even going back to those old videos, has always been a passion of mine. But what really strikes me in those videos, I'm talking about having ADD, getting medication, learning to manage it. What the piece I didn't have when I was recording these all that time ago, I knew I was an odd person. You can just tell I'm a little eccentric, is the way they probably used to refer to people like me, right? Or artistic, right? As my son so delightfully said on my most recent podcast interview, was with my wonderful oldest son, who called out that I am on the artistic spectrum. But that's where I'm headed, is that the piece I was missing 12 years ago when I was recording and talking about these topics, I didn't even have language to describe neurodivergent, yet a lot of information has come out in recent times about neurodivergence, autism, ADHD is covered under neurodivergence. There's a lot of things that kind of fall under that umbrella. But it turns out that the most likely explanation for my oddness is that I have some combination of being on the spectrum and I have the ADHD. So it comes out as like, they call it ADHD, or autism and ADD. And the more I learn about this topic, the more, and I have a lot of family members that have been diagnosed now, and I, compared notes and talked to them. And the more I learn about this, the more I find that all of the ways that I'm odd or eccentric or too much or like just strange, all the things that I struggle with, it turns out that there's a lot of other people like me, and that I'm actually pretty normal for a neurodivergent person. When I find other neurodivergent people and I hang out with them, and we talk about like what issues we deal with, I find that we have a lot of common ground. I don't feel like such a freak anymore. I also, though, had to go through kind of an extended grieving period, because previous to discovering all of this, I really thought that I could become normal. Like, I spent a lot of time trying to learn to be like other people, trying to please other people, trying to like act like other people, and I did fail repeatedly at a lot of that. But I also didn't. I also learned a lot of things, I do still struggle with social things. I struggle with the stereotypical things that neurodivergent people struggle with, the obvious ones like making eye contact and handling social interaction, or not being too blunt, not being too honest, not being too literal. It took me a long time to understand sarcasm and jokes and things that other people take for granted. So like my experience of being neurodivergent has been that my whole life I've been really good at certain things, almost like superpower. And people would be like, how can you possibly do that? That's so easy for you. And I'd be like, this isn't easy for you? But then they would be angry with me or reject me, or um like be just unaccountably like, from my perspective, they would just kind of like get mad at me for reasons I couldn't understand. It's like they had a rule book that I didn't have access to or something. And so I was constantly being told I was too loud, or that I was inappropriate, or that I was weird because, I would do things like, wear minion pants to the grocery store or something, and people thought that was strange. People made fun of how I dressed, people made fun of how I talked. I just, I lost friendships repeatedly. I just couldn't seem to understand. Like I said, it was like everybody else had some sort of rule book that just didn't get handed out to me at birth. And so I just studied people a lot, and did a lot of what they call masking, where I was like sort of trying to behave by the social rules that I could observe around me. Case in point was probably junior high is when it really kind of intensified, because in childhood you can do things like run around in leggings and odd clothing, and people will kind of like give you a pass. But then when you turn like 12 or 13 or so, then suddenly if you like show up with unicorn pants, and people are like, what are you doing? And I was puzzled because it had always been fine before, but all of a sudden the rules changed on me, and I couldn't understand. But I was still Catholic, and my family was very Catholic, and I was at a church retreat, and it was like a weekend thing, and I was probably maybe like 13, 14, and it was a sleepover weekend retreat. And I went and woke up in the morning, and it was kind of like dormitory style. All the girls were in a dorm together, and we all went to go take showers. And we got out of the shower, and every other girl, there was probably like maybe like 10 girls or so. Every other girl went to her bag and took out a portable hair dryer, and like went to the mirror and started blow drying their hair and doing their makeup. And I was just kind of looking around like, did somebody give everybody a memo that they were supposed to bring a hair dryer? Because nobody told me I was supposed to bring it. I didn't blow dry my hair. Like I would just and I didn't take showers because it turns out I have sensory issues around showering and around temperature and things, but I didn't know that. I didn't have the language to describe it. So I just knew I took baths. I only took bath, didn't take the shower part of the bath. So like, and I didn't like to have my hair wet, and I just had long hair. So I would just like take a bath, wash it with shampoo, and then get out and let it air dry. And this is around the age where I would be walking around with wet hair, and the girls would be like, do you want to borrow my hair dryer? And I'd feel like, is that, am I supposed to do? So I would just do it because they would like look at me like I was odd. But so I borrowed someone's hair dryer, and I think I borrowed makeup too, and I like just tried to like act like I was one of the girls, because clearly but I remember looking around and thinking, like, did somebody forget to give me the manual? Because like all of these girls know what to do and I don't. And I was really puzzled. So now that I have the knowledge about neurodivergence and about like some of the sensory stuff, and all of this information, I can sort of piece together like how I got to where I was. But at the time it was just this big puzzle. Now, like I said, I did have to go through some grief when I realized, like, oh, I actually kind of am this way. It's not really curable or fixable. I can like learn to manage it and learn to understand it, but it's not just gonna go away. And to this day, I still have moments where I just am kind of too much, or I'm too loud, or I'm too honest, or I say the wrong thing at the wrong time because I can't read the room, or I struggle with, things that other people find easy, like taking showers. I still struggle with taking showers. So, but then when I talk to other people that are also on the autistic spectrum or neurodivergent, I find that, it's very common for us to struggle with personal hygiene, brushing teeth, taking showers, like sensory things, clothing with tags is a famous one. I can almost always tell now if someone is neurodivergent, because if they have a strong opinion about socks, this is a favorite, like, are you neurodivergent or not question, is I'll be like, so how do you feel about socks? And like many of us have really strong, either we love them or we hate them. Like, either you're a wear socks all the time and can't have anything touch your feet kind of neurodivergent, or you're a hate socks and never want to wear them again and don't understand how people can tolerate them kind of neurodivergent. And it's pretty rare that I meet people that don't have some kind of like pretty strong opinion about socks. So it's a good guide for me of like, do you I can't tell if you're neurodivergent or not. I'll be like, so how do you feel about socks? It's a pretty quick way to find out. So anyway, that aside, I've learned a lot in the last few years. It started during the pandemic when a family member was diagnosed, and then another family member asked me, like, "Have you ever looked into autism?" And I was like, "No, no, no, I know all about that, and it's definitely not me." And then it turns out that it can express itself a bit differently if you're a woman. There's various, like, it is a spectrum. There's different aspects of it. Some of them I don't struggle with as much as other people. Like, I do have a lot of friends and I'm very sociable. I'm lucky in that way because a lot of people that are on the spectrum really struggle with people. um, but then that can make me like massively overconfident, like, oh, I know how to deal with people and I have lots of friends. And I can't tell you how many times people have abruptly broken off a friendship with me and like been really angry with me and not wanted to speak to me. Oh, and half the time I don't even know what I did to make that happen. And it's been a really common problem for me. So like it can make me kind of like overconfident because I'm like, oh, that one, I don't struggle with that. I'm fine. And then it turns out that actually I can misjudge while I'm coping with some part of this. So but just having language to describe it has been really helpful. I've, found the disability rights community, been learning a lot more about ableism and about the ways that shows up, and just learning to manage my own symptoms so that I can function, have a job. And, now I'm returning to this career that I thought I had to kind of give up and abandon and it turns out that some of the reasons I was failing at these things is not because I was actually failing, but because I just didn't have a complete information set. So I'm really excited to talk more about this on my podcast. And um, just happy to, kind of like broach this up. It's come up a few times and I'm again, I'm pretty open about talking about most things, not all things, because, I do have some things where I try to be careful what I say and who I talk about, privacy and all that sort of thing. But I'm really happy to finally have language to describe what I was struggling with 12 years ago, especially. And to, and I mean, I always say, like, you don't paint 100 unicycles and do an entire project about suicide prevention if you don't have issues. And a lot of people still just assume like, oh, you're through that and you're over it and you're great now because everything you post now is super happy. And yes, a lot better off than the year that led to the unicycles project. But the things that got me to that space, um, those were not like simple things that just vanished out of my life. And they're things that I still struggle with to this day. And if I can help anyone to deal with those same issues so that they don't have to go through that intense pain and that struggle that I did, I will happily get on here and make as many embarrassing videos as you like, with whatever hair color my hair happens to be at the time. And I'm happy to be able to finally have some of the answers I was looking for along the way. So that's my wacky video of the week. So we are on hiatus for the holidays. I'm going to be going to Texas to visit family and celebrate my mom's 70th birthday. Happy birthday, Mom! And Irvin, I don't know what he's doing, but he just had a birthday too. My Scorpio co-host that I told you I have to bring that up at least once an episode. So yeah, we're gonna take a little break, but when we come back, we have some really exciting guests lined up. I'm sure I'll get to talk about this whole neurodivergence topic a little more with some of our upcoming guests because some of them as well are also neurodivergent and happy to talk about those topics. So, yeah, it's come a long way, guys. And I don't know who's watching. Like, if you're watching, would you do me a favor, even if you don't want to like leave a public comment or you don't want to like self-identify as like being part of this, but if you would let me know in some way, either email me or message me or text me or look, my information is everywhere. Like my address is on my website. You will find me. Just let me know because I'm intensely curious. I can see some of the stats and I know people are watching or listening, depending what the format is. But I don't know who you are. You're all very mysterious, and I'm curious, and I would love to know who's here. Some of you I know. Hi, Elaine. Hi, Becky. Hi, Mom. I know who my three listeners are. But no, there's more than three. So I'd like to know who you are and maybe, if there's anything you do enjoy or you have enjoyed, I would love to hear that. If you hate me and you hate any of this, I don't want to hear that because I'd be devastated. So just, no negative stuff. Like if you don't like this, just go away. Or just click on ads and pay me. But if you liked something, I'd like to know. And if there's something you would like to know more about, or you're curious about, or if something that helped you, and you want me to cover more, I would love to hear about that because um, right now, like I said, I know people are watching, listening, but I don't know who you are, and I want to know. So I'll just end there. Thank you, lovely people. I'm really excited to see what happens as we go on because I have a feeling that we're going to do some fun things together. One of my favorite videos that I saw tonight was a very short one that I recorded early on, and all it says is, "Hi, I'm Jackie Shelley, and I'm going to cause a lot of trouble." And I was like, when did I do this? I don't remember this, but yes, I am. So, this is Jackie Shelley signing off to go hopefully cause some good trouble. Good night, everyone.